Hello and welcome back to the workbench. Today I'm taking a look at this. The 1/72nd scale P51-B Mustang from Mistercraft. Join me in this video as I take a look inside the box and find out what's included. Before I start the video, a quick shout out to my patrons. Thanks to your generous support, I'm able to continue to keep producing videos that you all enjoy. If you'd like to find out what becoming a patron means and what it gets you, check out the links under the video. So today I'm taking a look at this P51-B Mustang in 1/72nd scale from Mistercraft. Now I'm not particularly familiar with this brand of model kits, and it was only recently for my wedding anniversary that my wife actually got this for me, so it was a bit of a surprise. So it'll be interesting to take a look and see what's inside. So on the front we've got a well-drawn image of the P51. And down here on the bottom right it says super decal included, so that makes me think that there's going to be some extra decals, or they're going to be to quite a high quality. On the rear of the box we've got some more images of different kits that are available in the Mistercraft range. The side of the box features a little more information about the aircraft, along with an image and the information about what decals are included. On this side you can see there's a bit of multilingual safety information, and that's about it. If I give it a shake, you can hear that all the parts seem to be loose in the box. So let's take a look inside and find out. So yes, as I suspected, the sprues are loose inside the box. So let's take a look at these guys first. So it doesn't look to be a particularly complicated kit. You get two sprues in a light grey plastic and one which is clear, containing the cockpit canopy and a few other little parts. Looking at the canopy, you can see that there are moulded frame lines on there which look to be quite easy to paint. It is worth noting there's a bit of flash on the side, and there's also what looks to be the reflector gun sight and a few other small clear parts, potentially lights. Taking a look at the other components, the detail seems to be quite reasonably well presented, but one thing I do notice on this is that there's a little bit of flash in places. It's not quite up to the same standard of moulding as the most recent P51 from Airfix, but it looks to be quite good. As you can see on the wings, there are recessed panel lines throughout this model, but they're not as deep as I would like. This probably means that as you go through and paint this, providing on how thick your paint is, you might end up losing that detail. What's interesting is the propeller blades actually come separate, but you can see there's quite a bit of flash on these, so that'll need a bit of cleaning up. The fuselage looks to be quite well moulded as well, and there is quite a lot of flash here actually. You can see that there. There's a lot of flash, so that'll need cutting off. It does indicate here that this model kit was made in Poland. The plastic has a slightly different feel to it to what I'm used to. It's a little bit rough and it feels quite hard. Inside the cockpit there, you can see there is a rough representation of internal detail, but it's not particularly pronounced. So let's put them back down and take a look at the instructions. So the instructions feature a colour image on the top, which is actually different to the one on the box. The top part is the one on the box and the bottom one seems to be a different aircraft. There's historical information about the P51 in different languages down here. Oh, decals, put them to one side for now. So this is quite a large fold-out sheet. A sprue map, which is quite handy, particularly if any of the parts come loose in the box, which is quite likely, seeing as they're not included in a plastic bag. The steps are numbered and seem to be very well drawn and easy to follow. As I was mentioning earlier, the propeller blades are separate and have to be glued onto the hub with the spinner on the top. It doesn't actually look as though the prop is going to be the kind that you can spin by hand. It seems to be missing the sort of retaining lug that sort of Airfix and Revell put in theirs. This seems to just cement straight into a slot. So if you wanted this to spin, you'd have to sort of fabricate a piece for behind that, I imagine. What's also worth mentioning in this step here is that it doesn't appear that they've actually made any provision for raising the landing gear. They seem to have only depicted it in the down position. I imagine that with some alteration you could get this landing gear to be raised, but that would take a little bit of effort and a bit of cutting in different parts. So not a great number of steps to follow there, so it'd be quite an easy and simple kit to build, but the instructions are quite clear in when you're actually building it, so they'll be quite good to follow. Flipping over, we've got full colour painting and decal placement, and as you can see there's quite a number of different schemes here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different schemes here, which is quite interesting. You don't normally see this number of different decal options in such a simple kit. And turning it over, there's a little bit more information on the back there. So you get 2 decal sheets, and they don't come with any protective paper, so it'll be interesting to see if these are dried out and how they actually apply to the model. They seem to be well printed, and some small wording is actually legible. What's interesting to note here is that the what would be swastikas for the kill counts of the different pilots aren't actually represented as swastikas. They're represented as these little squares, and I imagine that's because of licensing laws and the sort of connotations that that emblem represents in Europe. They've done their best there to try not to offend anybody. What we've got here is the seatbelt, which is quite a nice inclusion. You don't normally seem to get that in quite simple 1/72 scale kits. Then the other sheet of decals contains all of the registry numbers and other markings for the different versions. And that's it. That's the kit. You get 2 sheets of decals, easy to follow instructions which are in full colour for when you come around to painting it, 3 sprues which seem to be of a reasonable quality but will require a bit of cleaning up, and a nice little box to keep it all in. The box, however, worth mentioning, does feel a little bit sort of thin, and this sort of thinness on the cardboard sort of brings into question whether you were to subject this to any sort of travel, the parts would actually survive on the inside. But fortunately, you can see mine's got a little bit of denting here and there, but all the parts seem to be present. They don't seem to be damaged, so that's quite good. So, in conclusion, what do I think of this kit? Well, it's a brand I wasn't really familiar with before this. This is the first kit I've had a look at, and to be honest, I'm actually a little bit surprised. I didn't expect it to be quite as good as it is. Obviously, it's got its little failings in places, but at the end of the day, it looks to be a fun little kit, and it shouldn't take too long to build and get quite good results. So if you'd like to see me build this kit, make sure you leave a comment underneath the video, and don't forget that you can also leave a suggestion as to other kits you'd like to see me build, or any other videos you might like to watch. Please also remember to check out the links under the video to find out what else is going on in the community. All that's left to say is thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you all on the workbench again next time.